Did you know in Aquaman, the underwater scenes weren't actually shot underwater? It was instead achieved by rigging the actors and actresses to harnesses and utilizing extensive computer graphics to make them appear floating and submerged. However, the underwater scenes caused a lot of headache for the production team. For example, the Atlanteans were supposed to wear capes in the movie, but the costume designer pointed out that capes dragged underwater. Eventually, they settled on capes being worn only by royal members of Atlantis, but did you know that in Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, Johnny Depp is no stranger to crazy fan requests on the daily? While filming in London, the actor received a letter from a 9-year-old boy who requested his character from the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, Captain Jack Sparrow, to show up at his school. Apparently, the young boy needed help to form a mutiny against his teachers. Depp obliged, and with no prior notice, surprised the boy in full costume. He also discouraged the kids from forming any alliance against their teachers, and spent hours with all the kids. This was quite fitting as a promo given the recent release of the latest installment of the series on Stranger Tides. Did you know that in Central Intelligence, during the airport security check, Calvin makes up a story about a wife cutting off her husband's penis, driving off with it, then throwing it out of the window? This is a reference to a 1993 incident that made national headlines regarding Lorena Bobbitt cutting off the penis of her husband, John Wayne Bobbitt. Did you know in The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It? James Wan did not come back to direct this sequel. James Wan directed the first 2 entries in the series, but this seems to go along with a common practice of his. James didn't return to direct Insidious 3, even though he had directed the first 2. Instead, his good friend, Lee Winnell, directed that entry. As for this film, Michael Chaves was brought on to direct it, and he had just finished directing another Conjuring universe film, The Curse of La Llorona. Did you know in Ghostbusters Afterlife, there's a scene in the police station where Phoebe reacts poorly to the news that the old ghost-busting equipment is being seized. She then grabs Egon's proton-packed neutrona wand, and she brandishes it as a weapon. This is a callback to Egon doing the same thing in the original film, and we see that Phoebe has inherited Egon's temper. Did you know in The Batman, there's an end credit moment where the movie prompts moviegoers to go to www.ratalada.com, which is the same website used in the movie for the Riddler to taunt Batman. Warner Brothers actually used this website to promote the film's release, where fans could solve riddles. As of now, the website states that it's been seized by Gotham City Police. Did you know in Stranger Things, we almost got a completely different Steve Harrington? Originally, Steve was written as the worst person in the world, and he even went as far as to take advantage of Nancy against her will. The role was changed once Joe Carey was cast since he was just so likable. Steve being called King Steve in school is an homage to Stephen King, which was a huge inspiration for the series. Did you know in The Walking Dead, Addie Miller plays the little zombie girl from the pilot episode, and she actually reprised her role in the episode named Mercy that aired 7 years later. Rick actually comes across her after he scolds Carl for almost helping a guy who he saw talking to himself and begging for food.